So, we all know that having great technology gives companies a massive edge, right? Just look at Apple or Google. But honestly, having the tech is really only half the battle. In this explainer, we're going to unpack the real challenge here. How do successful companies actually manage that incredibly complex transformation from an abstract idea into real-world profits? How do you systemize that leap? Well, that is exactly what we are going to break down today.
You know, we often picture this lone genius having a sudden, magical eureka moment. But in the corporate world, that is a complete myth. In fact, if you look at the most significant inventions over the past couple of centuries, they haven't come from sudden flashes of for-profit inspiration at all. Instead, they're the result of a highly communal, multi-layered endeavor. It's really about one idea being built upon another, continuously, until a breakthrough is finally reached. It's a deeply interactive and highly operational discipline.
To give us a really clear blueprint for this, we're drawing directly from Paul Trott's authoritative textbook, Innovation Management and New Product Development. It brilliantly illustrates that, hey, innovation isn't magic. It's a rigorous, manageable, and highly social process. So we're going to look at the exact organizational mechanisms that allow firms to capture these technological opportunities and systematically navigate them all the way to a market launch.
Here's our roadmap for the explainer. We'll start by demystifying innovation. Look at the evolution of innovation models, explore the innovative organization, talk about turning tech into business, and wrap up with the new product process.
Okay, let's jump right into Section 1, demystifying innovation and separating the myth from the reality.
Now, there is a stark juxtaposition we need to understand right out of the gate. A new idea alone isn't actually an innovation until it's successfully exploited in the market. The conception of a new idea, that's just the starting line. When you convert those intellectual thoughts into a tangible new artifact, like a physical product or a new process, that is an invention. And obviously, science and technology play a huge role there. But to actually impact a company's performance, that invention has to be combined with a ton of hard work across multiple departments to harness it for commercial activities. That later stage, that's what we call exploitation.
So the golden equation you really need to remember here is simple. Innovation equals invention plus exploitation. It is literally the management of all activities in the process, from idea generation and tech development right through to manufacturing and marketing a new product. It's a multi-layered management process, definitely not a single lucky event. And the beauty of viewing it as an ongoing operation rather than a fluke is that managers can actually measure it, control it, and improve it over time.
Which brings us to the incredibly high stakes of getting this right. Christopher Freeman, who's a true pioneer in the economics of innovation, famously captured this sort of perennial gale of creative destruction. He gave this stark warning: not to innovate is to die. Established firms absolutely must master this continuous process simply to survive. If a company isn't constantly managing this cycle of invention and commercial exploitation, they are inevitably going to be replaced by someone who does.
Moving on to Section 2, let's look at the evolution of innovation models, shifting from a linear approach to a network approach.
Historically, there has been a massive shift in how we actually handle this stuff. Back in the 1950s and 60s, companies used a technology push model. This was a completely isolated, linear approach where R&D essentially just threw an invention over the brick wall to manufacturing, and marketing was simply told, hey, go sell this. Then by the 70s, it shifted to market pull, where customer needs started dictating what R&D did. But today, we operate in the era of open innovation. This is a highly complex, interactive network where companies actively collaborate. They share and exchange knowledge with external partners, suppliers, and sometimes even competitors. You just can't rely solely on your internal R&D anymore. You've got to scan the broader environment and integrate external knowledge if you want to stay ahead.
Which leads perfectly into Section 3, the innovative organization, specifically focusing on culture and competencies.
Because virtually all major technological innovations occur within organizations, the internal culture of that organization is a massive determinant of success. Firms like 3M and W.L. Gore prove that this kind of culture is entirely intentional. They actively build a growth orientation. They network fiercely to maintain external vigilance. They commit heavily to R&D. And crucially, they accept that taking real risks means accepting occasional failures. They also mandate cross-functional cooperation, ensuring that marketing, manufacturing, and R&D are fully aligned from day one, rather than operating in their own little silos.
Now consider this brilliant business tree metaphor developed by Hamill and Pralad. I love this because it perfectly visualizes how a firm's deep underlying competencies act as the roots of the tree.
See, technology all by itself doesn't guarantee success. Firms have to be able to convert their intellect and knowledge into things that customers actually want. So those root core competencies feed the trunk, which are the core products, and then those branch out into the specific end-user products, which are the leaves and fruit. If your roots are strong and unique, your competitors are going to have a very, very hard time copying your final products.
Let's dive into Section 4, Turning Tech into Business, which is all about knowledge management.
So raw information alone just isn't enough. It has to be synthesized into actionable knowledge through a company's corporate memory. Smart knowledge management is really about spotting useful patterns in the data you already possess. Take Pfizer, for example. Their massive hit, Viagra, actually started out as a cardiovascular drug. But because their highly observant teams connected the dots on a very specific, unexpected side effect in healthy volunteers, they were able to turn raw data into an incredibly lucrative new market category. That is pattern recognition turning into pure, brilliant business strategy.
And ultimately, all of this abstract intellectual property and cross-functional design eventually has to be packaged into a tangible, commercialized asset. Take something as simple as the Tangle Teaser hairbrush. It represents the successful culmination of all those internal processes, identifying a real societal need, developing the core competency in design and manufacturing, and wrapping the whole shebang in a market-ready format that effectively communicates its value to the consumer. This is the exact moment where invention finally achieves that vital commercial exploitation.
Finally, Section 5, the new product process, where we look at the actual operational execution. This rigorous 5-step loop is the actionable blueprint for launching successful products. No serendipity required here. First, you generate opportunities systemically. 2, you ruthlessly screen those ideas so you don't waste money on total duds. 3, you develop physical or virtual prototypes. 4, you subject those prototypes to strict technical and market testing with your actual target consumers. And finally, step 5, you manage the incredibly complex logistics of the market introduction. It's a highly iterative, feedback-rich machine.
Now, as we wrap up, I want you to think about the valley of death. It's that perilous gap where genuinely great technical inventions just die because a firm lacks the marketing, financial, or operational capabilities to properly exploit them. So as you reflect on everything we've covered in this explainer today, ask yourself, how will your organization use this structured blueprint to ensure your next big idea actually survives the jump from the laboratory straight into the living room?